All right, on this video, we're going to learn how to write an equation for a hyperbola. If you have not already watched the video for graphing a hyperbola, I highly recommend that you go back and watch that video, especially if any of this doesn't sound familiar to you. I didn't go over any review on this one, so I'm just kind of jumping straight into kind of tearing apart the question. So find an equation of a hyperbola having foci at -5, 5 and -5, 11 and vertices at -5, 7 and -5, 9. So I'm hoping right away that we notice that there's a -5 in each one of these coordinates, and they're all in the x coordinate. And what that's telling me is that they're all going up and down, which lets me know right away I know this is going to be a vertical hyperbola, or it's going to have a vertical transverse axis. Because they're all at -5 on x. So they're not moving right or left, but they're going from 5 to 11, so that's going up 6 units, going 7 to 9, that's moving up 2 units. So it's moving up and down. It's not moving right and left. Okay, so I know that because all the x coordinates are the same. So this also tells me which equation to use because there's two equations. Depends if it's horizontal or vertical. So for a hyperbola, you're always going to have a squared and b squared on the bottom, and you're always going to have 1. And one of the two equations will be subtracted. So that's a big difference between circles and ellipses. There's a plus sign in those ones. But in a hyperbola, because the two parabola shapes are going opposite each other instead of coming together, they are subtracted. Okay. So when you're looking at these, if it's a vertical, then you want y to be first. You want y to be positive. Or I know a lot of the times it's explained that it's because the x coordinate is being subtracted. Okay, but vertical, that's up and down, so that makes more sense to me to say, focus on the y, because the y is the vertical term. So we know which equation we're going to use. We know our center. We know what our center is. It's h and k, right? So now we need to use the foci and the vertices to find our center, because it's going to be in between. It's right in between the vertices or right in between the foci, either way. So I know that it's going to be h equals -5 because it's going right along the same line up and down. But k, I'm going to have to do the midpoint of either I could do the vertices or the foci. It doesn't really matter which one I choose. So I can do 7 plus 9 divided by 2, and I get 8. And I could have done the same thing here. 5 plus 11 divided by 2 would have also been 8, because 16 divided by 2 is 8. Either way, because I just want to find the midpoint of either the foci or the vertice. It doesn't matter which one you find the midpoint of. So we know that A is the distance between the center and either vertice. We will compute the distance using the center -5 and 8, because we just found that out, and the vertex -5 and 9. So I just chose one of the vertices to do this with. So A, if I go 9 minus 8, because I just want to know what's the distance between the center and the vertex, then it's 1. So that's my A. To find B squared, we first find C and then use the fact that C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So Pythagorean theorem here. We know that C is the distance between the center and either focus. So A is the distance between the vertex and the center, and C is the distance between the center and the focus. So a little bit, few differences between, ellipses and hyperbolas that we've seen already. So we'll compute the distance using the center again. Oh, and I did the a squared because that's what we're going to put in here, but 1 squared is still 1. So we have our center, -5, 8, and we'll use the focus -5, 11. Again, it doesn't matter which focus I chose. I just chose one of them. So I'm going to compute the difference. So 11 minus 8, and I get 3. And if you notice, I'm putting these in absolute value because I'm not going to put negative when I do this. And then I want to square this when I put it in here. So now we're going to find B by using our Pythagorean theorem here. So 3 squared, because C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So 3 squared is 9, 1 squared is 1, and B squared stays B squared for right now. We're going to subtract 9 from both sides. So we're going to have 8. And I could take the square root of this, but I actually don't need to because I'm going to use B squared in my equation. Okay, so if you take the square root of 8, you're going to get a funky little decimal, but you don't need the square root of 8. You actually just need b squared. All right, so let's go ahead and plug our pieces in. So we have y minus k, which was 8, x minus h, which is negative 5, because that's our center, negative 5 and 8. And then we have a squared, which is 1. We have b squared, which is 8. So we do need to clean this up just a little bit, and you notice I'm kind of fudging it by putting a big plus sign here because I had a minus negative. So you can't type in minus negative in Alex. You're going to have to fix that because it becomes a plus sign. So that is how you write an equation for a hyperbola. I hope that helped, and I will see you on the next video.